so glad to be back with you tonight
Hello,
for
hello.
another Care for the Caregiver segment, as I call it. But this really is not just about caregivers tonight. We are going to talk about dealing with and overcoming the holiday blues or the holiday blahs, however some may see them. This has been a very heavy season. I remember this time last year, many of us were saying, I can't wait to be over 2020. And when 2020 is over, I can't, just they couldn't wait to get over 2020 and get into 2021. And then we got here and it's like, wait a minute, I'm not sure that I like this any better. And so, we acknowledge, y'all who know me know I'm a realist, and sometimes a little brutally, but Carol, you can't say, my guest can't say anything just yet, right? Because she tells me that all the time. Sometimes I'm too real. But in any event, I will say that, we are here. This has been a heavy year for many. And so as we approach this holiday season, we want to just share and talk about in a productive manner how to get through this holiday season. Some aren't feeling it at all, and that is understandable. Some wish it would just come and go, and that is understandable. Whatever you're feeling is understandable, and it's okay. And then I would say caregivers. Many of my caregiving community is just, they're dealing with grief as they also handle the responsibilities of caring for a loved one. And so, with that in mind, we are here tonight. And I'm calling this part one because I know I've got to have a part two, and I've already got a phenomenal guest lined up for part two as well. But tonight, I am so excited to welcome to my Be Live studio my good friend, sister, author, elder, Carol J. Williams, who is also an advanced grief recovery specialist. She has lived through and been acquainted with grief as many of us have, but she's also studied this thing. And so I am so proud of her for what she has done and what she means to so many. She really carries the hearts and the spirits and the well-being of those of us who are grieving. I say to her, is everybody's grieving because everybody's lost something or someone. But she really carries in her spirit and in her heart the well-being of those who are really navigating yet through grief. And so, with that in mind, I want to bring her right on up here. Come on, Carol. Let's talk about it tonight. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Evangelist Taraline Campbell. I am so honored. Thank you for such a heartfelt introduction. I appreciate those words.
Certainly. Certainly. Tell us a little bit about your story. Let's kick it off like that.
Let's kick it off like that. Well, I want to talk about my story from a different angle since it's caregivers.
Okay.
So, I actually, I'm Carol. I'm the founder of I Care Solutions LLC. I wear many hats. I've been a caregiver actually all of my life. Well, actually, since 1989. 1989, by profession, I was a nursing assistant. And I, from there, became a registered nurse in 1997. And so all of my life, I've been a caregiver. I'm a registered nurse now. But I had an incident happen where I actually not only became a caregiver by profession, but I was a caregiver for my mother. And I was a caregiver for my mother for 3 years. My mother, she had Alzheimer's, and she actually transgressed faster than they had expected her to transgress because the lifespan usually for Alzheimer's dementia is like 7 to 10 years, if not longer. So the doctors actually were really surprised how she actually progressed so fast and quick.
Okay.
And one of the things I wanted to mention about grief, I want to just define grief as I tie all this in. So
Great.
grief is the normal and natural reaction to a significant emotional loss of any kind. But where I want to tie it in, because oftentimes people think that grief is just related to the death of a loved one.
They do.
The last two definitions really is going to help the caregivers understand how this ties in with you. Grief is the conflicting feelings caused by the end or change in a familiar pattern or behavior.
Mm.
Grief is also the feeling of reaching out for someone who has always been there, only to find out that once you look for them again, they're no longer there. And the last two definitions tie into caregiver because oftentimes caregivers feel like grief doesn't apply to us. But however, when you think about it, you may not no longer be able to have the relationship that you once had with your loved one or the person that you're caring for. And it's a sign of grief. And it's okay. Tara Lee hears me say this all the time, and the members of Strength for the Grieving by the Grieving hear me say this all the time. It's okay to feel how you feel. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to express your emotions because you actually have experienced a loss. The loss that you have experienced is that you no longer are able to have the relationship with the person that you're caring for that you may once have had. And oftentimes the roles, unfortunately, they switch. Some of us, we become now we where we were the child, we actually now become the parent, even though the parent may not necessarily like it, and they always feel like, okay, I'm still gonna be your parent, but it switches. And we have to be okay knowing that that happens. So my mom, I took care of her, and sometimes caregivers, we're faced in a whole nother situation where some of us may be forced to become a caregiver unexpectedly and have not necessarily resolved any relationship issues. And that puts a whole nother factor on the whole grieving process as well. My mother and I, we had a very rocky relationship. And we had a very rocky relationship. However, anyone who saw us, I think we really, both of us did very well, far as being great actresses, making people think that we were all together good, but it was very rocky. And I remember having a very vivid dream, and in the dream, she was laying in a casket, and it was like she was like right in front of me. And so, in the process of that, it startled me so much. I talked to one of my friends who was prophetic, and they told me, they was like, Carol, because they understood the relationship dynamics. I don't think that your mom's getting ready to die, but I think that something's really getting ready to happen, and you all need to really work on the relationship before whatever happens. Little did I know that I had to really work on the relationship because a year later, I would become a caregiver. And I, in being transparent, know that if I had not had the dream, I'm not sure that I would have really been able to honestly take care of my mom. And so I was grateful that the Lord allowed me to see that allowed me to see that dream or have the dream so that I we could rectify the relationship, and and I would now be the caregiver, and I would be able to care for her from a pure place. And so that was great for me. And I had to deal with that was grieving. She was still alive, but that was totally grieving. And even as we approached the holidays, one of the things that was challenging, and we got her diagnosed, how I knew she was really having dementia, as being a nurse and studying Alzheimer's, and actually having taken care of Alzheimer's patients during my first years of nursing. She would cook, love to cook. But when she started burning things, I was like, oh, okay, this is something going on here. because my mother was never, she can burn in a good way. She loved to cook, right around this time. I can really laugh at this now. We ate turkey, you know, my mom, God bless all the turkeys, because we had turkeys all the time. You know, my friends, one of my friends, like, what y'all eating this Sunday? Y'all have a turkey. So it was nothing for us to have a turkey. But when she started burning things, that was a sign, and I was the one who actually, and I remember it like it was yesterday, took her the day of Hurricane Isabel. Isabel took her to the doctors. And when I took her to the doctor, the neurologist did the test. And it was really um, interesting to sit there and watch them do the test to see that she couldn't count and all of that. And so that's my story as it relates to grief. Now, far as the holiday blues, this is one of the reasons why you see me. There's nothing wrong with me. I do know that yellow is not the color for fall. I know.
Put a pin right there before you go into that, Carol.
Mhm.
I want to definitely acknowledge what you said and just echo as it relates to caregivers, particularly, and so many, the grief of, as it relates to a loved one who's simply not who we remember them being, you know, and that type of loss. They're still alive, they're still here with us, but that's not the mom, the dad, the husband, the wife that we knew 10, 5, maybe even 2 years ago, maybe even last year. And so that can bring about, in and of itself, a level of uh, trepidation or anxiety, if you will. One of my friends uses that word, trepidation, a lot, and I see she watching. But anxiety also, if you will, because you remember the holidays of past, and that's not what that's not what you're going to get this holiday season. I can say I've lived that, where the hurriedness, the hustle and the bustle of, I can recall my mom preparing for Thanksgiving. It was one of her favorite holidays, and that not being the case anymore. So caregivers, if you're watching this, that can apply to you. It doesn't just mean death. That's why I wanted to piggyback and stop there and just honor that scenario. But
Right.
carry on.
And it doesn't. I mean, and it doesn't. There are over 43 life situations or challenges that can cause individuals to experience grief. And so that's important to really know and understand. And so that's why we have to be careful on how we handle individuals, because, like you say all the time, Terry, we all are grieving because we all have lost something, from loss of job to loss of relationship to divorce, financial situations. Your children leaves home from college for the first time. You're in the empty nest. There are so many types of loss. And during the holidays, what I was going to say, I know my colors. I know. I'm sitting here probably looking like the big sunshine. Yay, um, but I purposely wore this yellow dress as a sign of being bright. Because oftentimes what happens is, when we hear grief, we tend to accept grief as being the doom and gloom. Like, it's going to be sad, it's going to be depressing. So what I did was I just chose to be bright tonight, and to say that it does not have to be a whole doom and gloom. You can be happy and experience moments of happiness in the midst of the holiday blues. Now, it's important to understand If you feel like you want to cry, then most certainly cry. Whatever your emotions are, it's okay to feel how you feel. But
Mm-hmm.
also know that it's not something that you have to have a doom and gloom. And by all means, if you're not sad, don't try to make yourself sad. Don't try to make yourself depressed, because society has said that this time of the holiday, we have to feel a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's journey is different. It's your own unique journey. And so, for those of us who we are happy in this moment, then it's okay to be happy, but let's work on not trying to make how we feel be someone else's journey. Because oftentimes, what that does, that really does hinder people from moving. I use the word moving, not get over, or moving, or starting to find some type of ability to really begin to effectively deal with grief.
That's good.
And
That's so good.
that is really important. And so as we were talking about the holiday blues, I wanted to use the acronym CARE.
Okay.
So first, create an environment for self-care. Create an environment for self-care. Now, as a caregiver, you may say, well, how can I do the self-care if I'm always taking care of my loved ones? Self-care can be something as simple as, if you have someone who can uh, care for your loved one for a few minutes, go run you a tub of water, put some bubble baths in the water, or light a candle. And yes, I do love jazz music. And I know for some people, they'd be like, "What? You love jazz music? Jazz? What?" So play some nice soft jazz music. Turn the lights off. Turn the lights down. Close your eyes. Take a moment and just relax. Just relax. Move your shoulders, because a lot of times what we do, I can speak for Carol, we tend to carry a lot of our stress in our shoulders. Move your shoulders, and by all means, just breathe. Just take a moment and simply breathe. That's important. To create an environment of self care, take a walk. And even if you do not feel like getting out of bed, self care can be simple as, I'm going to sit on the edge of the bed and just dangle my feet from the bed.
Mm.
Self-care. Go outside. If you don't feel like walking, just go outside and just take a deep breath and enjoy the sunshine. Just stand there. If you don't feel like walking, just stand there. Self-care. It's important, because sometimes we can become engulfed in where we are with feeling sad, depressed, morbid, till we actually sometimes not intentionally do it, but we can create an environment that's not conducive for us to even be happy, smiling. And sometimes we have to literally make ourselves do it, so that we can just experience even a moment of calmness. Even a moment of calmness. And I will say, I know, being transparent, and Caroline has been consistent, which I appreciate you. I don't tell you this just in private, but I tell you this whenever I get a chance in public as well, that I appreciate you for being consistent in my world. And last the 17th, Wednesday, I believe it was November 17th, was the day of my mom's death anniversary. And Tara knows this. And this is the part where she said, I couldn't say nothing now. Couldn't say nothing then, but I'm talking now. Yes, Tara Lee can be a little brutal. She can be a little strong in her little words, but you have to love Tara Lee, because there's nobody like Tara Lee. And she was with me during the journey, and I was stuck. I was stuck. The whole cemetery piece, all of that. And I this year, for some reason, last week, it was hard. I could not wrap my head around all of what I was feeling. I mean, I was stuck for so many years and was been moving. Never, this was different, to the point I'm laughing, because I literally wanted to go to the cemetery. I rode past the cemetery, I don't know how many times in the last few weeks or whatever, And I could hear my friend. I told her this too, and I was laughing. I could hear my friend in my head, Carol, why are you going to the cemetery for? If it's gonna make you depressed. I said, oh, Tara Lee in my head. But she told me that because literally when I was going to the cemetery, it was depressing for me. Now, everybody's that may not be everybody's story, but if going to the cemetery or things that you're doing are depressing for you and you feel a certain kind of way when you're doing it, just consider, is that something that's working for you? Because it may not necessarily work for you. And here I go again. It's okay. It's
Yes.
okay. And it's important to understand, Terry, I don't know my time because I can't. Oh, there you go. It's important to understand that everybody grieves differently. So when you have family members, your family member may be the one to be okay going to the cemetery. And you have to be okay to say, well, this is not working for me. And you know, and I say all that because I remember my dad, he gets upset and has gotten upset with the fact that we just stopped going to the cemetery. You know, some people they don't they that's what they do. And I was like, well, daddy, it's not working for me. You know, I just can't do it because it puts me in a place of being sad. And be okay. And be okay. And you know, when you have everyone grieving differently and it's family, my prayer is that there becomes peace and harmony and that you all will be able to again find strategies on how to really relate with each other and allow each other. This is important. Allow each other to grieve how they want to grieve, allow each other to grieve how they want to grieve. Because if you're trying to change people as they grieve, you're going to be like this. You're going to be, I mean, you're going to be tugging, you're going to be tugging back and forth. Allow people to allow each person their space to grieve. You know, if they want to cry, let them cry. If they don't want to cry, then okay. And just
And
don't.
Carol, that is a great and hard lesson for many people to learn, that you have to allow others to grieve in the manner in which they do, because the tug and pull and the bumping and the conflict is real amongst family members. I just talked to someone, a caregiver who lost a loved one a few weeks ago, and she shared that there was serious conflict in the family because one loved one with whom the one family member with whom the deceased had lived wanted everything, relatives to come over and get everything out of the house, and they were like, we're not ready for this, and she was like, I need my house back. And that and I we discussed the fact that you know she was at a place that the siblings were not, and just how to then move forward in the family so that you don't come to blows and say things that cannot be taken back. But that is very, very real. And let me put a pin for my friends who are watching. Hey, David. Hey, Nicole. If you don't mind, I forget to say this in the beginning. I'm so sorry. Share, please share this on your own pages. That we would appreciate that as well. But that is so true. And then back to what one of the things that resonated with me as well, Carol, is when you mentioned creating the environment for self-care. One of the things with that is and not doing the things, you talked about our famous infamous cemetery discussion through the years. But one of the things that is that I thought about as you were talking is, often we talk about and encourage people to let go of the things that are not serving them well. I'm a big proponent for that, but in many cases we think of those things being people. But sometimes what we need to let go of are habits that are not serving us well, and God bless them. Some of those habits have been passed down in through our families, and it's just like Well, I just do it just because this is what my parents did and what my dad did and what they want to do, and I don't know why I do it, but I just do it. I could go off on a tangent there because we've talked about that, but I won't. But I'm just so friends, please let also have I pray that God gives you the strength if you're struggling to let go of the habits that aren't serving you well, because that is another it can become another form of bondage. Go ahead, Carol.
No, that is very true. That is very true. And then you have, and that's another way that we become stuck. And that's another way we become stuck. And the truth, going back to the cemetery, you know, a lot of us were taught. We were taught. On Mother's Day, let me just share that I did not know this. Let's go back to Christmas. I did not know that if you really, you know how we ride around and go see lights and stuff, but at the cemetery on Christmas, they have people put Christmas trees up, they have lights, they do all of that because that's the way they were taught. And the holidays, because we were taught, you go to the cemetery on Christmas, you go to the cemetery on Mother's Day, Memorial Day. That's what we were taught.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of what we were taught, let's go back to this part. The way we grieve a lot of times has to do with how we were taught.
True.
How we grieve has to do a lot with how we were taught. Now, again, if that's how you're processing it and that's what you're doing and it's beneficial to you, then by all means, remember we all grieve differently. So want to make sure you hear both of us clear. Both want to make sure you hear both of us clear. And we're not telling you that stop doing what you're doing if that's working for you. That's not what we're telling you. What we're trying to do is provide practical, wholesome ways to help you not be in holiday blues and most certainly not to be stuck. Because again, everybody's story is different, journey's different. After being stuck for years in grief, I know now, which was last week, I have to be mindful and careful not to go back to things that I know that will cause me to be in a place where I'm stuck again. And so it's important to monitor where you are and monitor what's working for you and not working for you. And getting back to the family conflict, another great example, family conflict. My niece died in 2016 suddenly. I was supportive for my family, strong for my family. My family had asked me to take pictures. My family was like, take pictures or whatever. And so I didn't. My nephew was asking me for pictures at one point in time, during the first initial part. So I honestly did not see any harm in this. One day I had took a picture and I had took the picture and made the picture black and white of my niece. I didn't mean any harm. I sent it to my family. I sent it to my nephew. I sent it to my great nephew, my sister, my cousin. No harm intent. The next thing I knew was I got an email, I got a text message from my nephew, and he was hot. He was just, oh my God, it was a lot. And and he was like, how dare you send the picture to us? We still grieving and we still this. And I mean, it was just like in my head, I was like, but before I sent the picture, and that one picture literally caused major conflict. I mean, for a minute until finally I had to be the one. I had to be the one to nip it in the bud because one of the things I shared, which this is sometimes you have to really share and be honest because sometimes individuals they see you as being the strong person, and we're gonna get to this in a minute, but they don't understand. Although you're strong, you're still grieving too. And so he never understood the fact that I had been the strong person for the whole family. But because of the nature of my relationship with my niece, who we were like sisters, look, This is hurting me to see that I have basically been the strong person, not expressing my feelings, and now I'm getting slammed with not respecting how other people grieve. So
Mm.
that's where conflict comes in. So it's imperative to talk and talk about and let the individuals, let the family members know that you're grieving. And so here it is about this whole strong piece. When we oftentimes appear to be strong, they don't know that we're falling apart because we're exhibiting that we're this strong person. So they're now treating us as if we're this superhero when we're not the superhero. We're like, okay, look, I'm about to fall apart. And so it's okay for you not to be strong. Let me just say this. It's okay for you not to be strong. Because oftentimes the strong individuals, we feel we always have to be strong. And then when it appears that we don't have the support, it may be we don't have the support because they figure we have it all together. So during this holiday season, it's okay to say, okay, look, I'm not strong right now. I'm having a moment right now. You know, I understand that everyone, you all are happy right now in this moment. It's okay. It's right now. I'm just going to take a moment to be by myself for a minute, but I'm okay. I'm gonna come back. You know, it's okay to do. It's really okay to do all of that. Okay, I'm looking at my time because as you can see, I can talk.
Okay, so we got the first letter in
I'm
care.
coming to the A. I'm coming to all my letters. I know where you going. I already feel you. I already feel you. I feel my friend Tara. All right,
I
let me.
want you to get all of this good information out to the people.
I feel my friend. I feel you. I feel my friend. I love my friend. So A is accept the so C is create an environment for self care. A is accept the holidays. Doesn't have to be doom and gloom. R, we already talked about, actually receive help and support from others. So receive help and support from others. That is important. And you do have identify, it's important to identify your support system. And I'm almost finished with this E. Identify your support system. And when I say identify your support system, everybody may not necessarily be your support system. Your support system should include individuals who are able to listen to you and not necessarily have to say anything. They're able to watch you cry. Um, they're able to even listen to you have make statements that doesn't make sense into them, but that's where you are, and they won't judge you because you're not functioning at this moment like they want you to function. That is very key for your support system. The support system, people, everybody can't be your support system. Everybody can't be your support system. And oftentimes, hear me when I hear me, because I am a person, a woman of faith, and I love the Lord. Your support system does not necessarily have to be quoting you 5,000 scriptures at that moment. Because that may at that
Amen. Hallelujah.
I mean, yeah. So let me say this, tell you a story, and I'm going to my E. Because I remember when one of my cousins died, and my family is definitely faith based. They brought up raised with preachers, sisters a preacher, and I remember when one of my cousins died, and our first cousin died, and she was ready to go to my cousin's the son's house, and she was like, well, she wanted somebody to go there because she couldn't get there. She was like, somebody need to go there and talk to him about Jesus and all and pray and all this. I said no. I said no, they don't. I said they need to stay right where they are. I said he needs to grieve his mother. His mother just died. He needs to be able to grieve the fact that his mother is no longer there, and we can pray wherever we are. But we at this moment do not need to go over there quoting a whole lot of scriptures to him. Let him have his moment. And so that's important. So your support system doesn't necessarily have to be quoting a whole lot of scriptures. And if they're not quoting a whole lot of scriptures, does not mean that they don't necessarily love the Lord. It just means that they're giving you your space to grieve. Because oftentimes when we start quoting a whole lot of scriptures, we're not necessarily helping the individuals, especially in the initial stage, especially with this whole I'm going to eat, especially with this whole when someone loved one transitions, you know, this is not scripture, but oh, they're in a better place. Okay. But the average person is sitting there, yes, okay, they're in a better place. But guess what? I want the person here with me right now. So and oh, if you live right, you're gonna see them again. I don't want to see them again right now in this moment. I'm trying to see, I want them here with me. And guess what? If you feel that way and you have moments feeling that way, don't let I'm E. Don't let nobody judge. Don't let nobody
I
judge
didn't say
you.
a word.
No, I'm just saying,
I'm listening,
I keep
enjoying
on,
this.
huh?
I am listening, enjoying you.
Oh, okay, because I keep on saying E probably for you and myself, so I can like get to this E. But don't let anyone make you feel just like a certain kind of way. Just don't let them make you feel like a certain kind of way. And then before I get to E, because I want to say this, because this is for someone, you know, you may even be to the point where, you know, if you're facing God and you're angry with God, listen to this. People may agree, disagree is fine. But it's okay to be angry with God, but just don't stay in that place of anger. We don't want you to stay in that place of anger, because people will have you like, oh my God, how can you say you're angry with God? Oh, how, especially if you were brought up and raised in church. Oh goodness, because you know, I was angry. Now, I was angry with God. I was angry with God for a lot of reasons with this deaths and everything. And especially when you have relationship with God and you feel like, you do hear God,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden somebody is just like gone. Like, what did happen? Like, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't not, I mean, if you didn't tell me, why didn't you send me some type of sign? And then and then for some of us, okay, I'm angry with you because it's happened. Now I want to know why, when, what, all the questions, and don't stay in that place. And you may not, because I'm gonna tell you, it's been 15 years since my mother has died, went home to be with the Lord. And I have experienced so many losses besides just my mom. And I think my niece was the one where it was like, okay, God, what? I had no time. I mean, literally, I was getting my hair done a Saturday morning, had just talked to my niece that Wednesday, was wondering why she didn't call me back that Friday before she died to find out, like, she's not here. I mean, like, what was going on, but I had to really come to grips, that with all the questions that I still have, I can't allow me not getting my answers to cause me not to function.
That's good. That is good.
Yes.
Say that again.
I hope I can say it again. I hope I
That
can.
it, you said, okay, I'll say it for you. You said you cannot allow you not getting your answers to
Oh,
uh,
cause you from the ability to function.
from functioning. Yes, that, because the truth of the matter is grief can be very debilitating. And I remember that morning when your niece transitioned, when you found out. You called me, and I remember you were like, this is not real. I think you said you weren't going to believe it until you heard from a certain person. And so it can be and back to the being angry with God. The As believers, what we don't need is to use the word of God as a weapon over people who are already hurting.
That's good.
What we need, the word is really to be utilized as a salve. There's a balm, to be the balm in Gilead, and to heal the broken and the mend the broken heart, not to all this, you shouldn't be angry, that's a sin. I'm already hurting. I don't
Right.
need to hear that. No one needs to hear that, but we should utilize the word to heal and to comfort and to cover. And when all else fails, if you don't have a word, have a prayer. Even if it's a silent, it can be a silent prayer as you sit with someone. And this is, for those who simply may encounter someone who's struggling during this season and need to support them. Sometimes it's the silent support. It's being there, but it's being there. Not everyone doesn't always need to hear you. Sometimes we people do need to hear us pray. There are people I've prayed can go in right on the phone with them, but there are other people I can sit with them or talk to them and be praying while I'm listening to them. And the Holy Spirit will go where I can't go. And so I'm seeing comments in the chat from many, and sometimes it's our zeal, but God can give us a wisdom and help us to be able to support one another. As you said, we're both. I don't know. I really don't know anybody who hasn't lost somebody or
Right.
something. And so
Right.
all of us, as I often say, are grieving. But that doesn't mean I have to put my situation upon you and yours upon someone else. But God can help us to be helpers one of another and support for one another. And I'm seeing yeah, some of the comments that someone was saying. Oh, say it again, amen. This was your 2013. Yeah, Michelle, it could be a lot. And so this CARE acronym, thank you, Carol. Oh, we got one more, right?
Oh yeah, E. One
Yes, I
more
don't
thing.
want to forget
E.
because I
E.
got off that time on a
That's
Friday.
okay. E is and you. This is gonna fall on you because you have the book about this, and I always get you to talk about this. Embrace your new normal. So E is embrace your new normal. Now, embracing your new normal, it can be difficult, but
I
the
just
new
happen to have a copy right here.
yes, yes. See, that ties in. That ties in. That ties in. It can be different, but our new normal now,
Yeah,
it helps us to, it helps us to really move into reality. You know, the reality, and it takes time. It really it takes. Well, let me not say it takes time. Let me go back because time does not heal wounds. Time does not heal wounds. So let me scratch that. See, that's time does not heal wounds, and that's where a lot of times we get individuals get stuck. We believe at the Grief Recovery Method Institute is that time doesn't heal all wounds. Grief work heals all wounds. I incorporate God and grief work. Um, God and grief work, and so it's imperative that to work and do grief work, journaling, writing letters, seeing someone. And it's okay. We it's okay to realize that you need help, and you can't do this just with you know God, your higher power, whoever you believe in, and then also grief work. It's okay. It's okay to realize you need professional help. If you need therapy, go to therapy. Go to therapy and get help. And for our faith-based individuals, it takes nothing away from who you believe in. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of us, even with grief, we are not functioning because we have not done grief work. And in some cases, we need professional help. We need counseling. We need to talk about where we are in the process. And it is okay. And one of the things I say, I have said this in talking, we as believers, oftentimes we say, oh, well, I'm not going to go to a counselor because um, Jesus is my doctor, writes out all my scriptures. And I talk to him and tell him all my problems and troubles. And the truth of the matter is, Oftentimes, as much as we say that, oftentimes we struggle even with having a real conversation and a real dialogue with God, even about the place that we are dealing with grief. We only do surface level even with Him. So definitely incorporate, incorporate grief work. And it's important so that we can move, not now, not get over it. And please don't tell nobody to get over it, because we grieve because we love, and is not grief is not something that you tell anybody to get over. No, because as long as we our loved ones, we have the memories of our loved ones. So embrace your new normal. You know, the new normal for some, you know, my new normal has changed and shifted, you know, in so many ways. New normal for me is like, I may not necessarily be able every holiday to spend with my father, as now he's married. You know, new norm is that I have to figure out, well, I can cook a turkey, but not like mom. But new normal is you have to, and it's an adjustment. It's adjustment. So I said embrace the new norm because I know Tara. I thought about the new norm. I always think about Tara Lane, and she has a book about the new norm. And be and and simply, if you all remember nothing else, be okay. It's okay. It's okay during this process, seriously, to do you. And I mean that with all sincerity, because sometimes, please pardon me for those who have said stuff that was not beneficial to you. Please pardon them for me. Let me just reach out and say, please, just, people just don't know. They just don't know, and that's where I come in far as the education piece, because some of the stuff we say, it's not helping people. So, and I remember, and I'm passing this back to you and I'm finished. I remember hearing, I think this is probably one of the saddest things I heard. One lady was telling me she had went to the church, and she had lost her child. And in the process of her losing a child, she came to church and she said someone gave her a diaper bag. And in the diaper bag, it had baby bottles and diapers, pacifiers, and all of that. And when they gave her the bag, they said, it's time for you now to get over it, and you can have another baby.
Jesus.
And, my heart cringed, because I was like, see, this is the things that,
I'm cringing listening to you share that.
yeah, right, right. This is the part where my heart became heavy, because we don't know the impact just of our words, and how our words do not help individuals move, but can cause an individual to become stuck, or even, or not even, we don't even want to be the cause of anyone taking their lives. Let's be real with that. And so as I pass this on to you, you know, suicide is real. And so if you are struggling with thoughts of suicide, it's okay to reach out and get help, because you may feel like you don't want to live, because you don't even know how you're going to live without the loss of your loved one. It's okay to get help. It's okay to get help, and know that your life, know that your life matters. You don't even know me, but I'm gonna say this: your life matters to me. Your life matters to me. Your life matters to Tara. Your life matters. Your life matters, and we want you to live.
Yes.
We want you to live. And matter
That's
of
why
fact,
we're doing this.
yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. And now I put my spiritual hat on for 1 second, and I'm commanding you to live. So I'm not going to stay. No, I'm not going to preach more, but I'm commanding you to live, because it's important. And let's pass it to you for real, bro. Because another moment, and I am very transparent in my latest book, because I know what it's like, and sometimes people need to hear this, because we make we as faith-based believers, we make it feel like once we accept Jesus, we all the way, we going to heaven. And the truth of the matter is, yes to that, but some of us, even with our saved selves, struggle with thoughts. So I struggled with suicide. I struggled with suicidal thoughts. And when my mom died, by then, I don't know. It was a lot. I remember the Christian counselor telling me, she says, Carol, because I had it planned very well. I'm not going to tell you anything because how I got to the Christian council is friends, support systems. Like I can't take this no more. I'm tired. In it, I'm tired of hearing. I'm tired. I'm just tired of hearing. I don't know how to deal. You need help. Went to the counselor, and I knew that if I say the wrong words, I was going to go to a psych unit. And Carol Jeanette Williams was not going to a psych unit. Played it off real good. She said, "Okay, you're not being truthful here." But she says, I'm convinced that if you leave here, hell will not keep you from killing yourself. And I always remember those words because coming from a person who was a faith based person, they meant a lot to me. Because we're so quick as believers to tell someone they're going to hell, not knowing that
You
the
don't care.
person right then, they're not even thinking about hell.
Right.
They're thinking about how they want to exit out of what in their minds is seeming like hell on earth. So I said all that to say, I know what it's like. I'm telling you, I know what it's like. Everybody's story is different, but I will tell you that suicide is real. And I will say that it's imperative that we even address suicide and create safe environments where people don't have to be fake or don't have to be phony, but they can be true and say, look, I want to check out. And if you don't know what to say or don't know what to do, get them help. Now, I have said enough. I think I have said a whole lot. I kept on talking. Okay. Laughing at
This has
myself.
been rich, Carol. This has been so rich. And what you haven't said is you have not shared your book, your new book. Please do, ma'am.
Well, thank you,
It's
Tara.
so relevant to this discussion.
So my new book is uh, moving. Okay, here we go. Moving and being productive in the midst of loss. And this really is my story. And I talk about my losses, but also I provide information because we have um, um, affirmations, prayers as well. But I share this as well as giving tools as I'm sharing my story because again, many people think that loss is just related to the death of a loved one. But what I did not know until I became an advanced grief recovery method specialist certified by the Grief Recovery Method Institute is that um, my loss started when I was young, as being molested, being bullied. You know, I lost, and many people be like, wow, Carol, I lost a job. You know, I never thought that I would be a nurse and lose a job. Go in, work in, and I lost a job, you know, not to experience the numerous losses that happened to me. One thing I've never shared, because I don't talk about that part, but, you know, even after my mother died November 17th, January of the, no, November 17th, 2006. January 2007, I'm sitting in the church because my godmother, it was on the news, her and her best friend, they were driving together and they both were killed instantly. So I have been I have been surrounded by death. And one of the things I want an individual to know that I never thought that I could move, let alone be productive.
How
And
can they get the book? Someone's asking, is it on
oh,
Amazon?
yes, it is on Amazon, Michelle. It is on Amazon. It is on Amazon. My preference is purchasing the book via my website, icaresolutions.website, but it most certainly is on Amazon. And also, there is a virtual book launch December 4th for the book.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Yes.
virtual book launch December 4th for the book. And I just want everyone to know if leaving that with the holiday blues, you definitely it may be a sad moment, it may not be, but whatever you feel, it's okay. But just try not to stay in that place and know that you're not by yourself, that people love, they care for you. Get out and do something different. Tara's here. Tara's here for you. I do have I'm available as well. You can find out information concerning the services that I offer on my website, icaresolutions.website. Don't want you to feel like you're by yourself during this holiday season. Also, I want to share some information too, Tara, that for resources that people may not know, is that I do know this is for grief recovery method, but also you can probably check with FSA your health flex spending account. You can use, if you have to spend the money, you can actually use that if you're wanting to work for, work, do grief work. You can actually use that money to get the help that you need as well. And what as for, I know for grief recovery method, we would create an invoice and put life skill. And it's definitely so if you feel like you don't have money for professional help, that's a way to do it as well. And if you're looking definitely for professional help, always you can go to Psychology Today. And when you go to Psychology Today, you can actually find a therapist or counselor, however you want to preference it, from gender to race to religious preference. That is a great tool that you also can definitely use. That is important. And also, not only just grief recovery, but griefshare.org is a tool as well, because what they have now, a lot of churches as well are doing surviving in the holidays. They're doing surviving the holidays as a tool as well. So there are a lot of different resources for you so that you'll know that you're not alone. And I want to make sure that too, lastly, it's important while we close. It's important to pay attention to your children.
Yes.
Pay attention to your children, because oftentimes we're really just, our focus is on adults, but children are grieving as well. Your children are grieving as well. So one resource for children I know for sure is the Wendt Center, the Wendt Center, WENDT Center. If you don't know information concerning how to deal with grieving children, they have information there. And griefrecoverymethod.com. If you go on our website, they have a program for parents to help the parents deal with grieving children. To help the parents deal with grieving children. And also on my Facebook page, I do have a 15-minute session where I'm actually interviewing one of the educators for grief recovery method, and we're talking about tips to help parents deal with grieving children as well. So thank you all for your comments. Thank you all. This has been great, Tara. Thank you so much for having me. I hope that you all were able to obtain some information that's going to help you not only just through this process or through the holiday of Thanksgiving, but even as we go into Christmas and go into the new year, the same information can definitely be helpful and beneficial to you. So thank you so much, Tara Lane, again. I always appreciate your belief, your belief in Carol, and thank you again for being consistent. And everyone really needs someone who definitely can be consistent and at the same time be direct, even when you may not necessarily want to hear them be direct, but they still need that person in your world as well. So thank you, Miss Tara Lane, or Evangelist Tara Lane. Yes. Baltimore has Roberta House for grieving adults and kids. Yes, they do. And actually, also, Michelle, thank you for that, because they also have a program too for homicide as well. Yep, for individuals who experience loss by homicide. And they actually have also opened up one, Michelle, thank you for that information. They've opened up one in PG County. I think this in a large, PG County. They just opened last year, I believe. Last year they opened up in PG County. So that is definitely a great resource. And they just had a summer camp too for kids last year. And so yes, that is. Thank you for mentioning that. That was, yes. Back to you, Tara. Let me see. I see. There. Um, so, are there any questions? While I think I can see the questions, I believe, while I'm waiting on Tara. Anyone? Oh, yeah, she said her screen froze. Anyone have any questions for me? Because I think I'm still on. Okay. Yes, I'm still live. Okay. So what we're gonna do now is, if anybody have any questions, real quick, a few moments, and then we're gonna close out. If anybody has any questions, for me, because Tara told me. Okay, thank you, thank you. Let's close out. Thank you so much again, just for joining us tonight. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for all your comments, and I definitely do pray that the Lord strengthens you and that the Lord comforts you, and that you experience a great Thanksgiving. And I'm gonna say a great Thanksgiving, that you experience a great Thanksgiving, and I'm saying that with all sincerity, that even in the moments where you feel sad, that you will experience a moment of happiness, and that's to you and your family. And I do pray that the Lord protects and keep you during this holiday season. So please stay safe. Have an amazing day.